Is Marcus Rashford the main culprit for this poor mentality at Manchester United, or is he just an easy scapegoat? Because every time Manchester United face a team of quality, they just crumble. All the players seem like they don't care, they don't put in the hard yards, and they just don't play for the badge. And if you were a Man United fan watching their performances, you'd be absolutely disgusted. So who do you think is the main problem, or do you think it's a bulk of problems which equate to their poor form against big teams?
I think it's sort of a bit of both. Marcus Rashford being one of the main men of that Manchester United side, being a local lad. You know, you look at the likes of Steven Gerrard, who brought their Liverpool teams up. Whereas when you see Marcus Rashford play, he just looks like he's not interested. He really doesn't look like he wants to be there. And that is shocking when you look at, because you're thinking about the youth players that are there and the players that look up to him. Rashford is the main man, or one of the main men that you will look up to, as well as Bruno Fernandes. And both them two, at times this season, they look like they just don't want to be there, waving their arms around, walking back. Yeah, and it's just like, it's shocking for a club like Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the entire world, and they've got mentality like this. I mean, look at Marcus Rashford, when he came off the bench, he was sat there moaning. You see Bruno Fernandes on the pitch, moaning. If this was a Manchester United,
when I say, is it?
Exactly. If we see Roy Keane as captain and we see that Manchester United side and Rashford and Bruno Fernandes are in that squad, do you think they'd be moaning? No, they wouldn't even be considering to moan. They wouldn't even be thinking about it, because you can't be moaning about other players. You see Rashford straight off the pitch onto that bench, moaning about this, moaning about that. At the end of the day, yes, I understand that, you know, of course, the United team is shocking. The whole squad is shocking, and they've got a lot of injuries.
Big team, they crumble.
They do, and it's not relying on Rashford. Like, it's not because of Rashford they crumble.
You can't just point the finger at him. But like you're saying, when he's on 375 grand a week,
no, he's not worth that. We're talking Mo Salah numbers there, and Rashford is nowhere near Mohamed Salah numbers. Like,
you can't be on 375 grand a week and then, well, you saw on Match of the Day, not track back.
Yeah.
The second highest paid player in the Premier League, and you don't track back. You don't track your runners. That is poor.
Shocking.
Running and chasing players down and tracking back is the fundamental of football. You could be a brilliant player, apart from like Messi and Ronaldo, who were just phenomenals. But the wingers in the Premier League, the Salahs, even the players who play in the middle, like Haaland, like De Bruyne, obviously Mane when he was at Liverpool years gone by, they would always work hard. Yes, they put up stupid numbers, get goals, get assists, but they'd always put on the hard yards. It is no excuse, especially a player who's on 375 grand a week, to not put in the hard yards and to not track back. It's just, if you were a Man United fan, you'd just be looking at the screen like, what on earth are you doing? We pay your wages. We pay part of your wages, and you're performing like that. For me, as a Liverpool fan, I'm all for it. But as a United fan, you'd just be disgusted.
I mean, you would, yeah, because like the mentality they're showing is disgusting. Because how can you, like you said, how can you not track back your man? And Newcastle absolutely schooled Manchester United. When you look at the Newcastle's attack, Isak and Gordon and Almiron, they work like dogs to get back. The way they track back, they were
the amount of injuries Newcastle have as well.
It's insane. It's insane. The amount of injuries they have as well. They have more injuries than United, way more. Damn. United actually have more talent in their team. You look at the likes of Bruno Fernandes, the likes of Rashford. They have a lot more talent in their team. You look at the players that would be, you know, sort of get you out of trouble. United have them players. Newcastle, with their depleted squad because of injuries, don't have that talent quality, but they have that dog in them. They fight for every single ball, and Manchester United just aren't showing that. And you could say that's because Erik ten Hag has lost the dressing room, and I can sort of understand why, if he has, because I understand that Rashford has been shocking, but I think Ten Hag has some sort of blame, and I know people won't talk about this because people don't really want to blame Ten Hag for Rashford's shocking form, and Rashford does need to take responsibility because it's mainly him. Like,
putting in the hard yards, that's nothing to do with Ten Hag.
That's nothing to do with tactics, and I absolutely agree with that. But Ten Hag playing him on the right wing is an absolutely ridiculous decision. I think that is shocking because Ten Hag knows, because I know it myself, and I'm not a Manchester United fan, I'm a Tottenham fan. I don't even watch Manchester United week in, week out, and even I know myself that Rashford just simply cannot play off the right. And so Ten Hag, who watches him in training, should know this too, because Rashford's main attribute in his entire game is getting on that right left-hand side, running with the ball, cutting inside, and literally have to knock a ball, a really powerful shot into the corners, top or bottom. That's Rashford's main attribute, his pace and his sort of absolutely lethal finishing. Yeah, trickery. He cannot do that on the right wing because he can't do anything. Whereas when he's on the left,
crosser or pass of the ball, so he's not going to get to the byline. We're not talking about a peach of a ball into the box.
That's the thing. We're not talking about a creative player here. We're talking about a man who, if you give the ball to him, he has the ability to just do a lethal finish. Rashford just simply cannot do that off the right, because if you think Rashford can cut in on his left and score, then I don't know what you're watching. And Ten Hag must think that, because I understand Garnacho has to play as well. I get that, like, he's been really good form, but then that just means you have to drop Rashford.
You've got to get the best out your best players, haven't you?
Exactly. Like, if you don't think
Rashford wouldn't play Salah on the left.
No, exactly. That's the thing. And say Salah was off form and you got some right winger. I know Liverpool don't have a backup right winger, but say you got a really, really good right winger coming up.
Yeah.
But say you've got a really good right winger coming up through Liverpool, who they've sort of bought a couple of years ago, and he's a great talent. And Salah was like shocking. We're talking awful like Rashford right now. Then you wouldn't put Salah out on the left, and then put just so you could put this talented player on the right. And Garnacho is a talented player, and he's one of the best players for United right now in terms of form, because he does show a bit of fight and he does show a bit of passion about Manchester United. One of the only players that do. And at the end of the day, if Rashford is not good enough to play on the left-hand side for you, and you think Garnacho is better off the left-hand side, just put him on the bench.
I know you want to try and fit your best players into your team, but surely maybe playing him as a striker would be a better option than that. But honestly, keep doing what you're doing, Ten Hag. He's brilliant as a Liverpool fan, messing up in these big games.
I mean, I think Ten Hag does have a lot of blame, and I don't think this is his fault. Of course it's not. If you sack Ten Hag, I'm not saying that the issue is solved.
It's a collective, isn't it?
It's the whole club of Manchester United, and it has been for years, is absolutely disgusting, the mentality, because you can see it through the players that they have. The players, the mentality that the players show just comes from the top of the club, because you wouldn't see this 20 years ago. You wouldn't see this kind of mentality, but you are now because of the owners, and I get that. But we've heard enough about the Glazers, and we know the Glazers are an issue. But the way the Glazers run the club now, you just simply can't have a project manager, because that manager, whoever they get, they're going to be gone in a year and a half. In a year and a half time, I guarantee we'll have a new manager. We'll be talking about the same thing, the same issues. And I'm sure. Listen, Ten Hag has a lot to blame, and I do think Ten Hag is lucky to be in this job right now. And I don't know if I'd sack him, but he definitely would be very, very on the verge of getting sacked.
Points and good results against small teams, but whenever they face a big team, it's almost like all the form goes out the window. They just turn crap again, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They don't turn up for any big team, and that is a mentality issue. That's a massive mentality issue, and that comes from the main top of the sort of the main owners. The main is the
and it filters down, doesn't it?
Yeah, the main bit is the top of the club. That is the main mentality issue. I know this as a Tottenham fan myself, for the owners that we have had right recently, right now. Obviously under Ange, we're doing great, but we have had a massive mentality issues through the top of the club, because we just don't have ambitious owners. And Manchester United are the exact same. They don't have ambitious owners. I know they spent a lot of money, I get that, but a lot of that has put the club in debt. It's not all money of their own. People think, oh, you spent a lot of money, but a lot of that has put the club more in debt. They took over the club in debt, and they put it more in debt. So that's an issue, but that's another conversation about the Glazers. Right now, Ten Hag does need to take a lot of blame when you're putting players like Rashford on the right, and you're playing players like Anthony Martial, and you've got Højlund on the bench. You're 70 million man who has actually been pretty good recently, and you put Martial over him. It's like he's asking Newcastle to win.
He's another lazy one, Martial. I don't think I've ever seen him sprint after a ball. Everyone says, people unfairly criticise Martial because when he does play and he gets the service, he's a good striker. Yeah, the ability's there, like with Rashford. But when you're not putting in the hard yards, please tell me a time when you've seen Martial or Rashford, especially Martial, bust a gut, win a tackle, high up the pitch. No. I know necessarily their football isn't pressing like Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp sort of system, especially not like a Klopp system, but strikers still press in this league. Ten Hag still instructs some sort of pressing system, and when players like Martial and Rashford are just loitering around, it reminds me of Aubameyang Rashford, in the sense of he's got his new bumper deal on 375 grand a week, and then he's turned into a load of rubbish. You've got 2 goals in 14 games. No matter where you play on the pitch, no matter what team you're playing in, you're still playing on a top half team with quality players around you. You should be doing better than that. Shocking player.
Absolutely. And the thing is, as well, I love Marcus Rashford as a player, because I think he's a fantastic player. I genuinely do. I think he's a really talented player.
I think he's quite one-dimensional.
Because but I do think he's very one-dimensional. That is very true. But I just love watching him play. Even as a Tottenham fan, he's one of my favourite players outside of my own club, because I love when he's on form.
Just the purple patch better.
In the World Cup, he is sort of to an extent, yeah. But in the World Cup, when he was performing, playing, and he was scoring goals, I was loving it, because his free kicks are so good to watch.
Isn't it?
It's fantastic. The way he can strike a ball, it is really good. In fact, it is. I know it's a bold take, but it's one of the way he can strike a ball. It is one of the best in the league. When he gets that ball and cuts inside,
it's just how
and strikes it. Yeah, he's fantastic. But he does need to take more responsibility when things aren't going well. You just see him sort of just drop off. When things are going well, like last season.
25, 26 now? I
think he's 26, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah,
so
we'll get into the prime years of your career.
Yeah, we're not talking about young kid here.
The club for nearly a decade. Yeah. Well, playing in the first team for 6, 7, 8 years. You should be there, leading the other players, picking them up when their heads down. Not the sort of attitude he displays on the pitch. Shocking.
And of course, you understand that Marcus Rashford, you might think we're using him as a scapegoat. We're not, but we're using him as an example in terms of how bad the mentality is at the club. Because when your own youth academy player, a man that is manic through and through, he's a Manchester United boy, came through the ranks, he's playing in the team, and even he isn't trying. It goes to show you everything about that club is just poisonous, toxic. Ten Hag is not the issue, but he's somewhat part of the issue, because the problem is Manchester United.
It is mostly the players, though.
Yeah, it is mostly the players, of course.
How many managers can keep filtering through, and the same group of players remain at the club.
And exactly, and this is again that relies on the board. The board need to get them out. But I think the way Manchester United now are being run, I think they just need to get short-term managers, because you can't have a project manager whilst keeping the same players. It just doesn't work.
I know, but I think they sort of tried that with Mourinho, with a short-term manager, and I know he did.
But they did have success
there. But then Mourinho told you how much of a horrible place it was to work at.
Well, it goes to show you when you keep the
right manager can change this team.
The right manager can, yeah. But the problem is Manchester United aren't getting the right manager.
I think if Rashford played under Klopp or Guardiola, don't get wrong, he'd be hooked for the performances he's been put in, and he wouldn't start, especially with Guardiola. He's ruthless. But I feel like playing in the right environment, any player in the right environment can flourish. Like if you put any of these player in the Liverpool City,
well, that's what I'm saying.
They'd improve. But it really shows the real players where they're the ones who've got to drag the team, as opposed to being lifted up by other players and other managers.
Exactly. When Manchester United are on form and they're playing well, like last season, you see Rashford turn up, but the season before that, he was shocking.
He's too inconsistent to be a world-class player.
But then this season, he's not world class. He's not world class.
He'll never be unless he consistently performs.
If he consistently performs like he did last season, absolutely, without a doubt, world class. But because those numbers then were ridiculous, they're insane. But he needs to do it, like you said, consistently, like a Mo Salah, like a Harry Kane. That's world class.
Look at Harry Kane and poor Tottenham teams. Look at Salah in that 2021 Liverpool team when we finished third.
Even last season to an extent as well.
Yeah, exactly. With Nat Phillips and Reece Williams that season. Last season we were fairly lacklustre. But that 2021 season, Mane was off form, Firmino was off form, Jota just came and had injuries. Salah still bagged, I think it was 22 league goals or something. And he's still carrying that Liverpool team on his back up top that season. You'd never see that from Rashford.
No, exactly. It's shocking. And when you come through the ranks as a Manchester United kid, you should be the man that should be taking responsibility. You look at Steven Gerrard. He played in, let's be honest, terrible Liverpool teams. Let's be real.
For some parts.
Some parts are good.
They're never going to be remembered as iconic teams, are they?
No. Like, when you look at Liverpool's greatest years, Gerrard is a great player, but the teams he played in, apart from Istanbul, but that's not a great team.
That wasn't a great team.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I know they're great memories.
07, 08, 08 and 09 was probably the best Liverpool team.
Yeah, like when you had the likes of Fernando Torres and all that kind of stuff.
Alonso, stuff like that.
I get that, but very rare that Gerrard had a good team with him. Rashford's probably the same right now. It's very rare that he's had a good team.
And he's not lifting up the players around him.
And he's not lifting it up. Yeah, like last season, I get that he did last season, but that's when things are on the up, things are good. But when things are bad, when things are literally turbulent, that's when you want your main man, Marcus Rashford, turning up. And Bruno Fernandes is the exact same as well. Absolutely needs to be turning up. He's Manchester United captain. Martial the same. You're just going to have a poor mentality throughout the entire club, which they already do anyway, but it's just going to get even worse. And it's just on the club, of course, but it's also, I think Ten Hag needs to say, I'm not saying Ten Hag should definitely be sacked. I'm not saying he should be gone tonight. I'm not saying he should be, he's the worst manager ever. I'm not saying that, but he needs to take responsibility. Why are you playing Anthony Martial in a game against Newcastle where it's literally at St James's Park on a night, you're in an absolute cauldron, you're going to get a massive game.
He's lazy.
And Martial,
lazy as anything.
Martial is the last thing you're going to want, or the last thing you're going to need if you're in such a dogged fight.
Exactly.
When you go to Newcastle, you're going to get a fight. Højlund is much better for that situation. Big, strong, on form as well, playing well. Why are you dropping him? Why are you dropping him?
Unless it's fitness-related issues or injuries that we don't know about. But
perhaps, I guess.
Keep doing it, Ten Hag. Keep doing it.
Perhaps, I guess, but Martial, seriously. I mean, I'd rather have Rashford up front and then put someone else in the right.
Yeah.
Because, again with Anthony, right? Anthony, shocking going forward, but at least he does do the hard yards back. I'd rather
Same with Fernandes, in the sense of he still does the hard yards. He's a whinger and a moaner.
Yeah.
He still presses.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But that's the thing, the hard yards back, Martial doesn't do. So I'd rather just put Rashford up front, put Garnacho on the left, and then put Anthony on the right, because at least them two are going to run, them two wingers. Yeah, exactly. Especially Anthony, they're going to run. When you've got Martial there in a game at St James's Park against Newcastle, what are you doing? You can't put Martial there. That's like us bringing back Ndombele from loan and put him in a game against St James's Park. We know he's not going to run. We know it's not going to work. So why are you doing that? And also, I think is that Martial's first game in God knows how long? I don't even know. I don't remember him playing.
Well, Martial did score against Everton the other week, and he does score here and there. But Martial, Rashford, Pogba, they're all bred from the same batch. They're all lazy players who don't like putting in the hard yards.
No.
Technically gifted players, especially Martial and Pogba. They've got very much got ability there.
No.
But work rate, no. You would never get into a Guardiola team. You'd never get into a Klopp team. You'd never get into any team under a good manager when you have an attitude like that. It's just shocking.
No, it's shocking. And the fact that this in the thumbnail saying Rashford doesn't care, and this could actually be a valid point, says it all. When you're a guy that's come from an academy and you're getting videos made about you saying you don't care, that should show the sign of you showing a poor mentality, and you need to step it up.
Well, do you remember, I think it was against Fulham, the United fans put up a thing saying something like, play like you mean it, or something. Because all their players are lazy. That's the thing, isn't it?
I mean, I've been there. It's Tottenham last season. You literally know when your players aren't playing well. You can tell when they're not performing, and you can tell when they're not putting in 100% for your club. And United fans can see. And United fans are sick of it, and rightfully so. When you see Marcus Rashford walking back, when you see Martial walking back, when you see these players walking back, and you're thinking, I would genuinely run more on that pitch than they would. That's what gets you noticed, because they're getting paid 300 grand a week. That's more than what people get in a year. And I know people might be thinking, oh, you're singling them out, you're singling them out. At the end of the day, we know. So. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, we know the United team's terrible. We know they're shocking. I'm going back to the point with Gerrard. I'm going back to the point with even Harry Kane last season, mate, with Tottenham. We know these teams are bad. We don't need to say, Rashford is a bad team.
Pull them up.
But that's the thing. I mean, Rashford doesn't even have to score loads of goals. That will come. But just run back.
Well, to round up, Martial, Rashford, both very lazy players, like Pogba was when he was there. The squad and the ethos of the club is poor, really poor. Manager doesn't know what he's doing half the time.
No.
And that is pretty much Manchester United in a nutshell, isn't it? Comment your opinions down below, whether you're a United fan or not. Comment down your opinions if you think Ten Hag's the problem, if you think Rashford's the problem, or do you think it's just a collective problem. But not running and being lazy, that's a Rashford problem. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you in the next one.